Okay, let's try this again. Okay, so, oh, crap. Didn't mean to have this open, but now you guys can see. Um, so basically what ended up happening there for everyone that was here during the first take, I was trying to figure out how I can make the live stream a bit more fluid because I'm looking at it right now on my phone and it's choppy as all shit. I tried to fix the latency, but YouTube just would not let me change it, so I guess it's on an automatic thing. Right now, I've just been able to do these streams through Google Hangouts, which explains the choppiness and why it overall looks kind of crappy. So you guys will have to bear with me on that. If you guys have any types of suggestions of anything else that I could use for my streams, I'd love to hear some suggestions. I know a lot of people have told me about OBS, and I've tried OBS, and my laptop just isn't game enough to handle that because I've tried that so many times and it just lagged the shit out of my computer. Um, so yeah, this is what we have to deal with now. But right now I'm going to open up a new canvas. That way we are completely starting over. Just my pen size here to something that I can actually work with. And turn the canvas right side up. And yeah, so this will be a how to draw stream. And like I've been promising you guys for a while now, I have actually decided to do this stream because I finally get a day off from work where I can literally just relax. And I figured no time like the present. So, today I'm going to show you guys how I draw my ponies. And I'm going to start by drawing just my regular OC. For those of you that don't know, my OC is Tess, the white pony with the blonde hair and the weird blue eyes. Gonna get rid of the status bar here. And just a little warning here. If I do seem a bit distracted or quiet, it's because I get really focused on my artwork. And I have to keep an eye on my dog because she's been having a bit of a skin issue, and we've been trying to keep her from scratching. Because she scratches herself, and then she ends up whining because she ends up hurting herself. So we're trying to stop that from happening. And the little shit just she can get around her cone, which is terrible. Any hoozles, let's just start, shall we? So right now, we are going to be starting with a few circles, just like probably every other artist. Now I know what a lot of people do. They tend to just do a rough circle just in one stroke, just literally like boom, there's a circle. Personally, I can't do circles like that, only because I can never do a circle that's satisfactory, that's the same shape. Because as you can see, when I draw circles, the ends never meet. It's always this little gap right here. And for me, that always bugged the crap out of me. So what I'm going to end up doing is I tend to just feather in, or not feather in, but kind of feather draw my circles to try and get them as perfectly circular as I can. And then we're going to do about the same size circle on the other side. So you have two circles about roughly the same size. And if one circle is a little bit more lopsided, then that's why I love the feathering type deal that I do, because I can always make it larger, I can always make it smaller. It doesn't really bother me as much as doing, all of that. So now that we got our circles, we need to figure out which way your pony is going to be facing. So what I tend to do is I tend to think, okay, if I were to draw their back, which end would be higher up and which end would be slanted more? Because for me, looking at actual horse pictures and knowing horses like I do, I tend to think the end that's higher tends to be the rear end. So it looks like to me Tess is going to be facing this direction, which means her head is going to be over here more. So what I tend to do is I tend to figure out or decipher where her head is going to be. So I try to make it almost exactly one circle, or technically two circles high from where the chest is going to be. Sometimes it may be a little bit smaller. There's really no indication. Like, I know a lot of people tend to draw a line and then a circle. For me, there's really no real indication. It's pretty much where I feel like the head would mostly be. So I tend to do a rough outline, not as much feathering as these ones, because these ones are pretty much set where they are. If I'm doing something where I don't know where it's going to be, sometimes I just do a few lines, and then I kind of do the rough outline and maybe, see how it looks. Right there, the head looks a little bit too scrunched. So what I'm going to end up doing is I'm going to grab my eraser here and erase that circle. So we're left with the two circles again, sorry. So I'm going to try and make it just a little bit higher. That looks about right. Because for those of you that have actually seen my artwork, I tend to make my ponies a little bit more, I don't know another word for it besides Celestia-esque. Like the super long neck, the long legs. They're not really pony-like at all. So now that I know where the head is going to be, now it's time to fill in the back. So when you do the back, you want to do it literally just a little bit. You want to connect the two circles from the top, bowing in a little bit, almost like a hammock. And then when it comes to the belly, to the actual belly, you want to bring that archway almost into the center. So you want to really dive in there and do it just like that. And what I tend to do is I tend to draw from the front of the circle, so right here where her chest is going to be, I tend to draw that all the way over, and then right there into where her hips would be, or where her groin would be. So then this circle right here just tends to be an outline for where the back legs are going to be. So now that we have her basic shape, we have her back, we have her chest, and we have her little belly, now we go towards the head. Now the head shape isn't your normal pony where you have your circle and then you have a little divot here and then it connects back up. I was never really a fan of that because it never really gave me any indication of, where anything would be. Plus, it kind of looked weird to me, to be honest. It looks fine in the show and for other artists, but it never really felt comfortable for me. So I tend to give a little bit more realism to the ponies that I draw, where I make it more like Celestia or Luna, where I kind of drop it, make that little hammock here up to a point, and then I drop. I do a bit of a rounded square here, and then I find out where the chin is going to be. I bring it back up in the other direction, and then I wrap it around to wrap it back to the circle. So I don't really know how to explain that very well. And actually, I'm going to fix this right here because I don't like how that's pointed. Basically, I'm trying to make an Arabian type head. This is just not working well at all. I'm a lot better when it comes to using my actual sketchbook. And yes, I realize I say a lot. That's a vice that I still have yet to cure myself of. So forgive me if I say a lot. I don't really know how to fix that except with experience and being as this is my, what, 4th or 5th stream. See, I just did it again. I just did it again. Holy crap. So yeah, now you see me kind of rounding out the head a little bit more because as this got back to the circle, it was pointed really right here and then it just kind of flattened out. So now it starts to look more like a head. And now I figure out, okay, well, where's her throat going to be? And her throat is usually right about where this line meets the circle or right in front of it. So then I'm going to bow it. And then sometimes I tend to draw a little bit outside the circle. That way her chest is kind of, you know, puffing out a little bit. Because she does have a really big chest. So, and I'm sure, you know, once she gets to that part, if she gets to that part of, you know, gaining fan art, I'm sure plenty of fan artists will have fun with that. So now I move to the back of her head and I just follow that arc. So if you were to draw a line of where her neck vertebrae would be, it would follow that line. So you'd want to bring that back out here and you'd form this area right here, which would be the withers on an actual horse. So now she has this kind of long neck here. So you have the head done, you have the neck done, and then the frontal part of the pony. Now, actually, what I tend to do now is I focus more on the front than I do the back, because the back tends to create itself. And actually, we're going to round out the buttocks here. Just going to follow the circle all the way around up until this point right here, where I think we're going to have the back leg, but I don't know yet. I tend to draw the stance. If I'm just free drawing it, just trying to get a concept of what the character looks like or where my drawing's at for the day, I tend to just do a standing pose. So I let the front end decipher how the drawing's going to go. So when it comes to the legs, especially the front legs, because the back legs are a little bit easier to decipher where they are, I tend to do the front legs just a little bit further back from the chest. So I try and line up the leg with the neck. So where the neck would connect to the chest circle, I tend to line it up almost center with where the neck vertebrae would be. So I tend to do the front of the leg first. And to follow in tune with the show, you tend to see the kind of bowed in legs, you know, just like that. So what I'm going to do is now that I've figured out where the leg is actually going to go, I'm going to follow that all the way around, make a bit of a bow. And sometimes I tend to make it a little bit too bowed because then it looks like, oh, holy crap, her leg's going to break. So I do a little bit straight. I go straight at the beginning. So this is all straight right here. And then I tend to bow it out right at where the hoof is going to hit the floor. And then I bring it out, and I tend to round it out just like that so it's a bit flared. And then I see a lot of people when they do these types of things, I call it drawing like Mulan. So instead of continuing with that outward flare and doing it like that, instead of following the line itself, they tend to go against it and bring this in just like that, and then they make this really weird fetlock type thing. And I get when people are trying to follow the actual shape of the animal, of the actual horse, because when you're drawing an actual horse hoof, it does actually bend like that at the fetlock, and then you've got the actual hoof. It flares up, goes right here, and then you actually come out to make the fetlock, and then that's, you know, that's the actual horse hoof. And I know a lot of people tend to try and bring that in to make their ponies a little bit more realistic, but sometimes they tend to go too far with it, or they tend to make it a little bit more disbelievable. So that's actually the front leg done, and we'll do the other one here in a minute. So now it's time for the back leg. Now with the back leg, I tend to use this back circle as a way to decipher where the actual skeleton is. So I tend to use this circle as, okay, what would I do if I'm drawing a real life horse? So I tend to do the skeleton, which we talked about in my previous live stream. If you didn't see that one, then I will link that in the description below so you can go watch that. So I start off at the top of the hip, which is almost right up against the back of the butt. And then I decipher, okay, well, where's the knee going to go? The knee is usually placed right up against the belly, or in this case, right below it. And then making a almost right angle here, you go the opposite direction, and then you decipher, okay, well, where is the hock or the sharp point of the leg going to be? And we're going to draw right there, so she's kind of standing a bit proud. And then we're going to bring that down right there, and because she has no fetlock, no real fetlock anyway, we're going to leave that straight, but otherwise I would put a point here for the fetlock and then continue down to the end of the foot. So now we have the actual skeleton of the back leg. Now we just follow that through. And what's really interesting is that another thing I notice a lot of people do, which I tend to do too in a lot of my drawings, is when they do the back leg, they literally do it in one solid motion like that. So you got this big S, and then they do the whole defining features where you got the hock there, and then they bring it up. Again, I know the show does that, but in my case, I don't really like how that looks, considering you have all this space right here where you look at it and you go, okay, well, how is that skeleton working? How is that skeleton working exactly? And what's kind of throwing me off here is that little bit right there. So erase that. We're going to fill in the circle one more time just so we know where we are. And now we're going to do the leg. So to get where we need to go, I tend to try and start actually from the inside of the hock. That way I know where we're going to go. Just like that. And then just like the front end, we're going to follow that skeleton line all the way down. And then we're going to flare out the hoof here just a bit. And then, actually, I don't like how that looks. And you want to try and make the length of the back hoof about the same as the front. I've actually seen quite a few artists, they actually measure how long it is, or they use their own type of base. That way they don't screw up their own drawing. That is just not turning out right, is it? Okay. That is not working. Oh my goodness. All right. So we're going to try something new here. We're going to go a little bit closer to the skeleton. There we go. That works. That looks better. So now we're going to follow the skeleton all the way through the butt. Come up here to the hock. And then we are going to follow that all the way down the leg. Just like that. There we go. And yes, I do realize that it's kind of muffed up at the moment, but give me 1 second. And I just remembered that because we're drawing her in a proud stance, this leg is going to be a little bit farther back. So this is actually going to stay straight here in the back. And then we're going to bring that forward. There we go. That's much better. That is much better. Erase these pesky lines because we don't need them anymore. There we go. All right, so now we got her back leg. We're going to bring that all the way forward. All right. So that is our basic type of deal that we're working with here. And now we're going to do the other legs, which is pretty much just mirrors of the legs that are facing us, except farther back. So with the front leg, I tend to do it a little bit farther back. So the bottom is going to be slightly higher than the one in front of us. And you're going to literally just follow the outline of that. So you have the bottom of the hoof there, and then following the same shape all the way up. Just like that. And now for the back leg, because she is in a proud stance, we're going to have this one coming up a little bit, so it kind of falls like right in this general vicinity. But you're going to follow the exact same shape. So following what we've already done here, we're going to bring the curve up here just a little bit. And there we go. So you're kind of doing it like Bambi a bit. And then we're going to flare out the hoof wall here. And then to give a little depth, we're going to make this area right here slightly thin. But you're going to bring that all the way up. So you got this thin area here. It's almost like drawing Cadence when she has the really thin at the tops. And what I did to fix that really quick was you want to try and match the back legs together. So I actually fixed this back leg back here to kind of match the thinness of this other leg. So now that we got the legs done, which to me are the hard part, because you can never decipher where the legs are going to go. Now that we got the legs done, now it's time to look at the legs and decide, okay, do they look good? If your legs look good, then bravo. Then you've already done the hard part. For me, though, I actually didn't like how this front leg looked. It looked a little bit too beefy for me. So I'm trying to make it look a little bit better than it did. Although it's kind of fighting me here. There we go. That looks a little bit better. Okay, so now the other part that we actually forgot was the ear. Now the ear tends to be one of the big parts, so it tends to take up about that much of the entire skull. So I tend to try and start them right at the curve here of the head circle, and then I tend to end them right at the center. And how I draw my ears tends to vary between character designs. My own ear, I actually base it off of actual horse ears, where you start off with a small curve like that, and then you got this S shape at the back. And then depending on where the ear is facing, if it's up or down, tends to decipher if it's just a little line like that, or if it kind of comes out to make that kind of like what I have right here. But for now, we're just going to do a basic type of ear where it's literally just almost a teardrop. So, with a little bit of flair, actually, because the little teardrop ears kind of are too simplistic. So we're going to start off with the slight curve here. And actually, I don't like how that looks already. Oh my god. My first how to draw stream, and I'm completely blowing it, guys. I'm completely blowing it. Holy crap. Okay. Take 2 on that one. So we're going to draw the ear here, and because she's standing proud, she's going to have her ears slightly forward. Just like that. So you are actually drawing a teardrop. So you know how you see teardrops where it's literally a circle and then a slight, you know, type wing there? Well, that's pretty much my ears. That's pretty much how I draw my ears. All right. So now that we have our basic body base done, now we can move on to the next layer, which for me is the actual outline. So believe it or not, this is actually the skeleton to my drawings. This is how every single drawing starts. And if you watch my Twitter or any other YouTube accounts, you'll actually see in a lot of my sketches, you'll see erased versions of this in my sketchbook. So you'll see the final product, but underneath it, you'll see so many circles either way out here, or you'll see lines way out here, just trying different things. And I've actually gotten a lot of questions about that, like, what's that drawing underneath? It's not a drawing underneath. That's the skeleton of what you saw to make that finished product. And believe it or not, this is actually not how I usually keep my ponies. This is usually the base, and then I'm making changes here, I'm making changes here, I'm making changes all over the place. But for now, I'm going to suck it up, and I'm going to draw it as it is drawn here, so nobody looks at my stream and goes, oh my god, we're going to draw it again, and she's making more changes? Holy shit. I can't learn this way. Which I understand. So, now that we have our basic outline, now we can just ignore the skeleton base of it. All we have to focus on is the outline, which I will be using black for that. And for the sake of this stream, I will not be doing the whole, you know, one stroke bit, only because this one took me for flipping ever to get the one stroke done. And to be honest, there was so much erase work. I'm not even kidding. There was so much erase work. I've never done one stroke type stuff before. I mean, you've all seen my stuff, and if you haven't, I'll put links in the description below. But I tended to draw with so much feathering that it started to drive me nuts, because I saw all these other artists and YouTubers where all their characters were literally just one swipe type deals. They looked so clean, they looked so professional, and I was always miffed that I could never draw that way. You know, mine always looked so sketchy, so feathered, and it looked like crap to me. And for those of you that draw that way, I'm not saying your art is crap. I'm saying my art is crap because it looks so feathery. But anyways, for the sake of this stream, I will suck it up and I will draw just I will just draw how people are used to. So, when it comes to the outline, there's really nowhere to really start because you already have your basic outline. For me, I tend to start at the ears, only because the ears are the easiest part. And I'm actually going to zoom in here a bit. So I'm just going to take my black and follow the outline of where we've already got it planned out. And as for details like the eye, the facial features, the inside the ear, the muscles, I tend to do that after I do the basic shape, only because those details tend to come after I do the basic shape. So here you're just following. This is all basically just following the outline. So while I'm doing this, if you guys have any questions for me, then feel free to put them in the chat below. I would love to hear your guys' comments and or questions. If you have any questions about my artwork, if you have any questions about me, I will answer anything and everything. Give me your absolute worst. I can take it. And if you guys have any questions also about my art style or any pieces that I've already done, I'd also love to answer those questions as well. Because I know I get, not a lot of questions, but I know I get quite a few messages about my art pieces, just asking either where I came up with it or why I draw the things I draw. And when it comes to that stuff, I tend to just draw mostly whatever I feel like. I know that's probably a total newbie answer, but it's actually true. I tend to just draw whatever I feel like. Me personally, I deal with a lot of anxiety. I deal with panic attacks, anxiety disorders. And so when it comes to drawing, I tend to use it as a way of therapy to kind of get myself through those types of things. And so drawing for me is not only a kind of self-proclaimed business because it is something that I want to do for a living, but it's also a way of therapy for me to get through my panic attacks and get through my anxiety. And for me, I tend to use my drawing as a type of diary or type of journal. I've heard a lot of people actually give me advice saying, oh, maybe you should write out what you're feeling or just keep a diary, keep a journal. And I actually do. I keep many, many journals. I have a journal for practically everything. I have a journal for my eating habits. I have a journal for my dreams. I have a journal for just my day. And honestly, after I'm done with all of it, it's like, oh my God, I don't want to write anything anymore. I don't want to write anymore today. I'm done. But at the same time, I can never get a drawing or writing utensil out of my hand. So it's like, okay, then let's just draw something. What is on my mind at this time? Now, because I say that, I do have a lot of people actually ask me, well, does that mean you never get writer's block? No, I get writer's block all the goddamn time. And it is just as frustrating. So, how do I get over that? Well, very simple. I draw whatever the hell I feel like. And that's not meant to sound like a BS answer. It's literally whatever I feel like drawing, but when I have writer's block, I tend to look at people around me to give me ideas, and the people around me give me all kinds of ideas. They'll give me, draw your OC in the Minecraft style, draw a pillow with a face, draw that lamp over there, draw your car, try drawing this from memory. Basically things that'll get my mind off of what's either causing the block in the first place, or just get me to move my pencil across the page. That way I don't get stumped or I get out of my drawing groove. Because the minute I lose that groove that I have, I stop drawing either altogether, or I don't pick up a pencil for a few days. And I can't do that, especially if it's if this is something that I really want to do as my job, because that would be terrible service to anyone who would want to commission me. Just all of a sudden, where's my drawing? Yeah, I haven't picked up a pencil. I haven't really felt like it, but I'll get it to you soon. Like, that's not very good customer service. It's not good for business. I mean, would you want to commission an artist that literally took months to do your commission simply because, oh, I don't feel like it? I don't think so. Okay, so now that we've done the outline, now we can actually get to the nitty-gritty, and we can get to the actual details of the drawing. So now I'm going to start actually putting in the muscles and putting in the defining features. Simple stuff like where the neck connects to the chest, defining outlines in the ears, that type of stuff. So basically this is all up to your own interpretation at this point. Everyone has their own style of drawing ears and, doing muscle features and everything like that. So for the sake of this stream, I'm going to make it very simple, where I'm going to have this part of the ear following that kind of downward motion up to about center point here, and then I'm going to have it follow that S shape. So you have another teardrop inside, just like that. So now you have the inside of the ear showing a bit to the side, just like that. So now if we get rid of the skeleton here, you have your basic outline. And this is, for lack of a better term, your base. This is your base for your pony. And if you have made it this far in the stream, congratulations. You can now say you have drawn your very own pony. And the reason why I say congratulations is because a lot of people say, oh, I can't draw. Well, you just drew something. Give yourself a round of applause. You just drew something and you said you couldn't do it. Well, look at you now. Look at you now. You can draw. Imagine that. All right. So now that we're done with the base, now it's time for hair, accessories, and facial features. So obviously the one thing we're going to do is we're going to add a layer. But we're still going to be drawing on layer 2. Because then the third layer will be color. So now we are going to zoom in on the face so we can do the facial features. Now, because Tess is a flashy type of mare, she tends to wear her eyes and eyeshadow the same way as Rarity, mostly because I based her off of Rarity in that aspect. So we're going to start by drawing the upper eyelid with not that much arc, just enough to make like a little sand hill. And then here in the upper, or in the lower corner, sorry, we're going to bring it out almost like we're going to make the eye about the same. And then right about here is when we kind of bring it back up. And actually, I don't like that. Oh, dang it. Didn't want the eraser that big. Oh. There we go. So again, we're going to have that little sand dune there, or sand hill. God, this is just not working, is it? Here, let me come off to the side here just to show you what I'm trying to do here. So basically, I'm trying to do that kind of sultry type of stare where if you have this as her eyebrow, this is her eyeshadow, then this is her actual eye. Then we're going to bring it down and back around so she has kind of this cat's eye a bit. There we go. And then you have the white of the eyes. And then there's that. And then you have the eyelashes. That's pretty much what I'm trying to go for. Now, if only I can do that when it's actually on the horse. And actually, I see my problem here. This one, this eye, she's looking this way. So I need to do it backwards. That's my problem. There we go. There. Now we do the rest of the eyeshadow. There we go. Do the eyelashes. Okay. There we go. That works much better. And then we're going to have her looking back at us. There we go. All right. There we go. That's much better. See, this is what I tend to do, guys. Whenever I'm not sure about how to draw something, I tend to draw it off to the side. That way I can do multiple things of it. That way I can decide, okay, what looks better. Okay, and that actually works. That actually works really well. So the nostril, pretty easy. It's literally just part of a circle. It's literally just a little notch right there at the top of the nose. Pretty easy. And then for the mouth, I tend to make it about 3/4 of the way down. And then you want to make it kind of round. That way you actually make the mouth look three-dimensional. I know a lot of people tend to make it like either really down here, or they tend to make it really up here, and that doesn't really work anatomically. So you want to try and make this part of the muzzle about slightly more than half, is what I'm trying to say. Because if you were to split her head in half right here, this would be about the halfway point. So you want it just below that halfway point. And do all that. All right, so now we have her face. And then because it's me, I'm going to round this out just a little bit. Just a little bit more. There we go. All right. That's not as round as I'd like it to be, but like I said, for the sake of this stream, I'm going to tough it out. You guys get the basic idea, though. Okay, so now that we have her eye, we have her nose, we have her mouth. Now that her face is done, we can move on to the most important thing, the hair. And the hair is up to your own interpretation of how your OC looks and what their hair looks like. Because Tess is based on rarity, she tends to have her hair in a voluminous type deal, and I tend to use a lot of curves when it comes to her hair, only because that's how my drawing style is. I have a very natural type, well, not natural, but I tend to curve my lines a lot. I mean, even drawing a straight line, it tends to curve inwards and outwards, and that's not even on purpose. I actually have to work really hard to keep my lines as straight as possible. Sometimes I cheat and I just use this type grid right here. That way I can actually draw lines as straight as possible. Because I can't draw straight lines to save my life. I can draw circles all day long, but it's straight lines that are my problem. So when it comes to the hair, and actually I'm going to do the hair on a different layer. That way I can actually show you without erasing any of the base. So I'm going to make the base slightly more dim. And now on layer 3, we're going to start with her forelock, or the bangs, as a lot of people tend to call them. I tend to use a lot of actual equestrian vocabulary only because I'm an equestrian myself. I ride horses and I've been around horses since I was 1. So forgive me if I use any vernacular that you guys aren't aware of or don't know the meaning of. I promise that I will be translating or explaining as I go along. If there's any words that you guys don't know about, just leave it in the chat and I will explain it. So, when it comes to the bangs, you want to try and start it right where you think the connection would be between the bangs and the actual hair. And where that tends to be is literally right there, right behind the ear. So you want to make it to where it comes out right behind the ear. So it's actually resting on her head. I know a lot of designs in the actual show actually have the arc of the head showing and then they start the hair, which is fine because I know a lot of designs have that where the hair starts at the center, the exact center of the pony, which is fine. For me though, I tend to want to hide this little bump only because in my own drawings a little bump kind of turns me off because in my own drawings I hate seeing that little bump. It looks like the base is showing. So when it comes to Tessa's hair, as many curves as possible. As many curves as you can fit, but without it looking, ridiculous. So you have one lock that's, again, like Celestia, where it kind of curves inward towards her eye. And then you want to bring another lock right down here, just more curves. And then with this one, because it is a thicker lock, you want to make the point and then immediately come right back up. That way you have this giant arc here. That way you have that big floof, that big floofy lock right there. Then you want to bring that downwards a bit, like you're actually going to connect it to her head right here. It's almost, she's almost got Elvis hair, what I like to call. And then you're going to actually leave that empty right there because that's the defining line in her hair. You're going to come back here up to the top and you're going to make that little fray of hair, and then you're going to bring more volume into it. You're going to bring more volume into the hair. by giving a little bit of a fray and then doing that whole thing again where it's a little thing and then it keeps bending in just like that. So now she's got this type of Elvis hair because she's that fabulous. She's that fabulous of a mare that she can pull off the Elvis type deal. So now that the front part of the hair is done, we can erase this little point. And actually, no, we can't. We actually can't erase that little point. Pretend that point is still there. We're going to erase this little bit right here. And what I like to do sometimes is actually like to show where that point is. So we're going to do a little bit of a bob right there. That way it actually joins up. Just like that. So then we take where that little point is, and we're going to join that up. And now we're going to start her actual mane. So that is the forelock done. Now we're going to start with her actual mane. And to show off her body, I tend to draw the mane on the other side, which we're going to do here. But what we're going to do is we're going to draw the actual bit of mane that you actually see on this side of her hair. Again, keeping that volume. She loves volume in her hair. Again, you want to keep those curves. There's no straight lines here. So basically you got a hot dog bun type deal here. It's literally just waving mane. Just like that. And actually that bump's a little bit too out there. We're going to make it just like that. All right. So there we have it. We're going to erase this little bit right here. And then looking at it as a whole, we're going to erase this. Oh, nope, that's not what I wanted. Not what I wanted. Good thing I'm on the right layer. It's a digital artist's nightmare if you're on the wrong layer. If you're on the wrong layer, then you're completely screwed. There. All right. So looking at it as a whole, it actually looks pretty good. She's got Elvis hair. She's got the Elvis bangs going on. You see that? See that? You just... I was trying to erase this line right here, and I'm on completely the wrong layer. There we go. That's better. All right, so now we want to work on the other side. And what we're going to do is we're going to fade that again. That way we know which one we're working on. So what I tend to do is I tend to follow whatever this is, wherever this is, and that way it actually matches up, because I know I've seen a lot of pictures where people draw this just so they know, hey, the mane's right here and it's going to be on the other side, but they draw the ends completely off kilter. Like you see the end of the mane on the bottom completely up here, and then the top is like way up here. And that's fine if it's the wind blowing it, blowing it behind them or in front of them, sorry. But if it's them at a standstill, the bottom is going to continue this line right here all the way down towards here. And then the top of the mane is usually going to follow it, but it's going to be a bit higher. So it'll be either right here or it'll be right here. But your pony is at a standstill, so you have to... I know the show says otherwise, but you have to obey the laws of gravity and the laws of physics here. So you can't have your mane going every which way and still wonder why other artists won't draw it the way that you expect it. So, because at least with me, if it doesn't coincide with the laws of gravity or laws of physics or anything like that, I'm gonna take some liberties so it does. I know I'm drawing fictional characters here, but come on. Okay, anyway. So I tend to draw her entire mane as if it were in front of her. And then I make the general changes of, it's behind her, so I tend to erase quite a few lines. So starting at the bottom, we're going to follow this type of wave here, and I tend to just, like I said, as many curves as possible. So we're going to end it at a point there. And then, like I said, I tend to draw it. And actually, I like how that looks. Isn't that terrible? I draw it, and then I'm like, oh, wait a minute, I like how that looks. So what I'm going to do here... See, this is what ends up happening, guys. I have one plan, and then I draw something, and it's like, oh, wait, I like how that looks. I'm sorry, guys. Give me 1 second here. This is my brain working right now. I'm tempted to keep this area open, though. But I like how that looks. Just draped over her like that. She almost looks like Ariel, like Princess Ariel. You know what? Why not? Change of plans. I'm drawing her with her mane put up against her shoulder. So just her mane draped over her shoulder. Why not? I'm taking some creative liberties. So now we're gonna go up to the top, right where her ear is. Her mane is gonna be pushed up against it because it's over her shoulder. We're gonna have a slight curve of mane right there, and then coming back out, we're going to have a bit of mane coming back out, ending in a curve. And that doesn't look right, does it? No, it does not. Creative process, guys. It is a pain in the ass, but it's got to be done. And actually, what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to do just a little bump right there, so it looks like another piece of mane is bundled up underneath it. How does that look? It doesn't look right. Of course it doesn't. Of course it doesn't. This is what it's like to be me. I can never decide on one thing. It's amazing my boyfriend has stayed with me as long as he has, because I can never keep my mind on one thing. So I'm gonna actually bring this part down. Here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna bring this part down, and then I'm gonna make a bigger arch. That, or am I trying too hard? I think I'm trying too hard. Yeah, I'm trying too hard. I'm trying too hard. This is not working. Okay, so this is what I need to do. I need to grab a little bit of mane like that, bring it up around, That way it meets with her head. There. So we have a little bit of mane right up in front. Just like that. That way we have a little bit flowing in front. There we go. And to be honest, guys, I'm actually... Remember when I said I had anxiety disorders? Well, my anxiety is actually starting to act up right now, so this is literally me drawing on anxiety. So I do apologize if I either start rambling or I start drawing a little bit too fast. This is literally me on anxiety. And because he may as well, my boyfriend is here consoling me to make sure that I don't have a panic attack. So if you're hearing something weird, that is him up against my headphones. And no, I'm not saying that to make him feel bad. I am just trying to keep you guys informed. That way you don't think it's your own computer. So we have... All right, so we have that. And again, that doesn't look right. Jesus. Jesus, Hong, Christ. All right, so we're actually going to bring this around like that. And then we're going to actually erase this little bit right here. And then we're only going to make it... Actually, we're not even going to give her a piece right there. We're just going to leave that open. So she has a little bit over her shoulder right there. So now we're going to go to the other side of her. And we're going to start drawing in the rest of her mane. And she does have kind of a long mane, but it's actually shorter than what it used to be. When I drew Tess initially, she had hair all the way down to the floor, and she had a tail that was actually so long it actually went underneath her. Because if I drew it as it was, it would actually be dragging way behind her. So we have her mane coming up to a point, and it's exactly like with her Elvis forelock here. We start at a point, and then we bring it all the way down to, so you have a fat bit of hair right there. And actually, I'm not liking how that looks. I'm a perfectionist when it comes to my own character. And there's nothing wrong with that, I've been told. I see plenty wrong with that, but I've been told otherwise. So I just have to accept it and move on. That's all I have to do. Just accept it and forget about it. All right, and I think I'm actually making the curve a bit too tight here. I think I just need to keep following it around. Just make it like a huge thing. like that. All right, that looks better. All right, so now I'm gonna go to this layer and I'm gonna go through and erase some of the base lines. There we go. And then I'm going to come back in here, fill in some spots that I may have erased. And there we go. And actually, now that I'm looking at it, I'm probably going to fix this little bit right here that's over her shoulder. I'm probably going to put in an extra bit right here. That way it actually looks like it's a part of her mane instead of just like a strip. So I'm going to give her a little bit of a fray here. Like that. All right. And then this part, even though it pains me to see it, because, again, my own art, I'm actually going to leave this as it is, because the way I have it, it actually looks like it's outlining her shoulder, because it actually lines up with, oh, pardon me, I just had a hiccup. It actually lines up with her front leg here, so I actually like how that looks. So now we move on to the tail. Now the tail is the hardest part when it comes to drawing I just lost my train of thought there for a second. I'm sorry. When it comes to drawing the tail, you need to figure out where the tail tends to start. If you've okay. I'm sorry, I had something playing on my laptop and it distracted me. So, long story short, if you've seen the show or if you've seen a horse before, then you tend to know where the tail starts. It tends to start right about here, and it tends to be about that thick. Me, I tend to try and draw my horses or my ponies with actual anatomy. And I know that the creators of the show do too, but sometimes their designs tend to be a little bit ridiculous, like the fact that you see a lot of tails that start off like that, when in reality, no horse's tail ever starts out like that, because there's actual bone and muscle in a horse's tail. It's not just hair. So I tend to draw it following the line of the butt, just so it looks like, hey, there's actual bone in there. And because she tends to be a bit of a show-off, she tends to carry it high, but for the sake of the canvas not being that big, I'm actually going to draw her with her tail a bit down, just because she has no reason to show off right now. So I tend to draw her tail a little bit out, because her tail tends to, you know, or if she had actual bone in her tail, it would be about that long. So we're gonna erase that. And if you guys actually liked how I did this, I know I'm not that best at explaining, so I don't really know why I decided at this point, okay, when it comes to the design of Tess, after the base is pretty much just me explaining how I draw her, and the tutorial part is over. I know I needed to kind of explain that a little bit better, but the tutorial was mainly for the base, and the rest of it is pretty much up to you and your own interpretation of your OC. Everyone has their own versions of their OC, and I'm not really one to tell you how to draw your OC when you yourself, only you know how it's drawn and how it's designed. So at this point, it's me pretty much just rambling on and telling you how I draw my OC tests, and my own, creative process and how I draw her. And I realize, especially now, that her tail is a bit under her and kind of hiding her leg here, but like I said, because of the way the canvas is sized, it's not in the best position for that. So I'm going to erase this line right here because it's behind her leg. And then on this side, on layer 2, where her outline is, I'm going to erase this part of her back leg. There we go. And then back to layer 3, where I will darken the outline of her tail. Just like that. All right. And then back to layer 2, where I think I see a bit of her. Yep, I did. All right. And then now, because it's part of her, I'm just going to make it on layer 2. But when it comes to her cutie mark, it's literally just a crescent moon. So remember how I did the circles where it was feather circles to make them as round as possible and as perfect as possible? Well, that's how I draw her cutie mark as well. I actually have a pre-made version of her cutie mark. I just don't have it. And actually, when it comes to her cutie mark, when it comes to the actual pre-made version, I actually just grabbed the circle tool here, and I literally just made circles all day long until they matched up to make a crescent moon. But for the outline or skeleton bases of it, when I'm planning out drawings, I will actually draw out her crescent moon. So I'm going to zoom in here. And then cutie marks generally should be in this vicinity. So it should be right here. I know a lot of people tend to put it like way down here, or they put it more in the belly, or they put it way in the back. Cutie marks on any pony is generally within this circle right here, if you want it to be in the right area. So when it comes to hers, her cutie mark is actually pretty much that entire circle area. So I tend to start it from point to point. So I start the outline edge right here. I tend to try and draw the best circle I can where it meets up right there. And then doing those points. I tend to try and draw end to end just so I can make sure that they meet up evenly. Just like that. And then that is her half moon cutie mark. And then just for the fun of it, I'm going to color in her what's it called, pupil right here. There we go. Give her a little bit of expression. There we are. Then I'm going to grab the blue here. A little bit of a faded blue. If you hear squeaking, that would be my dog. That would be my doggo. She is having fun with her squeaker ball. Yep, that's her. And I know in my actual test design, she doesn't have a black iris. In fact, on this one, in this unfinished piece, you can actually see that her eye is literally completely blue. Even the whites are blue. Her pupil / iris is a darker blue. That's mostly because I liked the idea of the iris and the eye design of the changelings, where it was all one color. And that was mostly to draw more attention to the eyes, because, I mean, just in this unfinished piece, you see this, you see this Rapidash type pony, and then you're suddenly hit with a big splotch of blue versus, you have a little slit of blue. So to me, the thing that sticks out more is the complete blue than the slight blue. Okay. So now comes coloring. Now we're going to add a few more layers. All right, so now you have your hair layer and you have your base layer. And then layer 1, you have your skeleton. So this will actually be the more of the, what am I trying to say, the progression type of it, where you can literally delete a layer and you can see what else you have on it. So then once we're done, we'll be able to take away each layer starting from the top, and then you'll see the progression. So you'll have the skeleton, the line art, the mane and the hair. You'll see the coloring progression, and then you'll see how many steps it took to create that. So what I tend to do is I tend to go start from the ground up, and I tend to just paint bucket the base color of what it is. And her body is not purple. Her body is white. Unless she was in pajamas, in which case, yes, her body would be purple. So we're going to paint fill in her body white, because she is a white / purple pone. And it actually takes my computer a little bit to actually fill it in, because the canvas is pretty large, so it takes my computer a little bit longer than normal to fill it all in. There we go. And because it is her, we're going to take our purple and we're going to fill in her eyeshadow here. And we're going to make that a little bit lighter. There we go. All right, so her body is now colored in. Layer 5 will be her hair, and I've already gotten her hair color queued up here because I was working on it on the other art piece that I have open. Uh-oh. Okay, so usually if that happens, that means I have an opening somewhere in the tail, and I actually see it right now. And we're going to fill that in really quick with the black pencil. There we go. Fill it all in. Make sure it's all filled in here. And this is what I meant by not liking the the sketchy way that I draw, because I tend to leave open spaces and it doesn't look pretty to me. And I know a lot of people that actually draw in the sketchy style, like Mad Munchkin, and I love her style of drawing. It's just on me, I don't like it very much. So now we're going to see if we filled it all in. Hopefully we did. There we go. And when it comes to all these pale spots and blank spots in here, that'll all be filled in with the regular pencil tool. But for now, we're just paint bucketing the fill-in spots. That way we know exactly where we're working and where the colors are. All right, so now we're gonna look back a bit and we see Tess in all of her glory, in all of her wonderful, beautiful glory. And now we're gonna go to layer 6, where we're actually gonna drag this below layer 4, because this will be her cutie mark. And her cutie mark will actually require the airbrush tool. That way we get that really nice soft glow like that. Because her cutie mark tends to fade from a blue to a purple to a pink. So we're going to zoom in on our cutie mark here. We're going to draw and make sure, perfect. And what I like about this, and actually that's not good that it's over the line art. What I like about this is that you can literally, what I was going to say was that you can draw over the line art and it meshes in, but that's why I don't like my sketchy style, because then the cutie mark looks kind of fudged up. So we're actually going to take it easy with the airbrush tool, because I can already see it coming outside the lines. So we're going to fill in the tips with the blue. And actually what we should do is we're going to go all the way to the pink, and we're going to fill in the middle here. And then we're going to go all the way to purple. And then we're going to go towards the middle here. And actually what I'm going to do, I'm going to make my airbrush tool a little bit smaller. That way the colors can come out a little bit better. That's better. That's better. All right, and then we're going to grab our purple again, grab our purple again, and then we're going to grab our blue and do the edges. And then what I like to do when it comes to that is I'll mute all the others. Nope, I won't mute that. All right, and then I'll grab the blur tool, and then I'll actually blur these a little bit more. That way they mesh a little bit stronger. So then when I bring this back, that's not coming in as strong as I'd like. Oh, that looks a little better. Yeah, that looks good. All right, so our cutie mark is already done. That is literally all it takes to make our cutie mark. Is pink, purple, and blue airbrush in that sequence alone, and then that's it. All right, so now we go through each layer. We want to get the eyedropper, make sure we have the right color, and then we're going to grab the pen. And then we're going to make the pen big enough to where we can cover, oops. to make sure we can cover all of it. And then what I'm going to do is I actually like to do it in this little blobby style. That way I know I'm covering all of the sketched areas. That way I can make sure there's no white lines, there's no transparent lines. Perfect. All right, so now I'm going to grab my eraser and go through and follow the outline of these sketches. That way nothing gets missed. And if I see any if I see any lines that are kind of out there, then I will grab my eraser and I will go to that specific layer and erase that outward line. That way it's out of the way and it's not staring you dead in the face like, oh look, I'm right here. Because I've had comments on some of my art pieces where they're like, oh, it looks good, but you have a really weird line hanging out right here. What's that about? It's like, oh yeah, I forgot that was there. My bad. Because my goal here is to make as professional work as possible that's, you know, within my abilities. And forgetting lines is not good. Alright, so now that we're getting a little bit closer to the edges here, I'm gonna make my eraser a bit smaller, that way I can get in these tighter to reach areas. There we go. And I'm actually okay with leaving small sketchy lines out, because like I said, I'm not perfecting anything right now. I'm literally just trying to finish a stream piece. And my dog is going absolutely nutso. I am focusing on my art, but I'm also trying to not just stop and lose myself in watching her play right now. Because that's another factor that tends to hold my attention while I'm drawing, is I'll be focused on a piece and all of a sudden it's, oh my god, watch the dog. The dog's funny. The dog must be paid attention to. She is my service dog, but she tends to do her job too well sometimes. She doesn't know which anxiety to protect me from, really. She doesn't know the difference between anxiety I don't want versus anxiety I do want. And my artwork is an anxiety that I do want. Because eventually my artwork will actually help me pay my bills if I play my cards right. Okay. So here we are, about almost done with the main portion anyway. It doesn't look like we have anybody in chat, but I will be answering a couple questions that I've received on my DeviantArt page, which I will link in the description below, about a couple pieces that I made with regarding some fan art of pony versions of either demons or angels, or any fan art that I've decided to make from videos that I've seen that I actually am a huge fan of and watch night and day and watch on repeat. The pony version of Voltaire, or Duke as it's titled, is a fan artwork that I did of a video I saw called The Night by Daria Cohen. First of all, I love her animations. If you guys know of her, or if you guys even don't know of her, I'll link her channel in the description below. She is an amazing animator. She recently animated her own story versions of Voltaire's music videos of The Night, Land of the Dead. Just amazing animations to really catchy songs. It's actually because of her that I began to look up Voltaire and actually started listening to his music, and I actually love his music. His music is awesome. I'm surprised that I didn't listen to it sooner. It's this amazing story of a girl called Missy who goes into this vampire's castle to read Twilight, and this vampire voiced by Voltaire, because technically it's the vampire that's singing Voltaire's songs. He turns her into his bride pretty much, and he's basically chasing her all around the castle. It's funny to watch, but it's so really well animated and it's really well done. So I decided, because I loved her design of Duke, I decided to make a pony version of him. And I still have yet to color that. I still have yet to create a Missy version of it. It just amazed me that something like that existed, and I was so happy that it did. I was like, oh my god, I have to draw Duke as a pony, and I did, and it's been awesome. Another work that I did was when I drew thanks. When I drew the I don't know what I'm trying to say right now. When I drew the pony versions of Demons and Angels, I've been getting a lot of questions on those as well. A lot of my inspiration from those came from the actual Bible. And when it came to actually designing them and coloring them in, it came from not only looking at other pieces that I found on the internet, but it also came from their descriptions from supernatural websites when it came to my own rendition of them. And it pretty much just stayed within that. What I tried to do is I tried to make it so they were actually part of the like they were part of the MLP universe in some way. And I decided to make, especially the demons, in their own way, that they had their own personalities. Meaning that they could pass as canon characters if they decided to. So like my design of Lucifer. Let me see if I can find that, because I think I have it here. Just so I can show those of you that don't follow me on Twitter, show you what I mean, because I tend to draw a lot of things like that. Where is it? Where, oh, where, oh, where? Where could it be? It will not show. Where will it be? No one knows. Well, I didn't find the one of Lucifer, but I did find the one. Let me see. Let me go back here. Oh, no, it was under unfinished. No, it wasn't. I lied. It was under downloads. Here it is. So this is my sketch that I made of the archdemon Azazel, or as a lot of people tend to call him, Azazel. They tend to rhyme his name with Hazel, but I call him Azazel because it sounds cooler. So basically what I did here was I made him more of a Pegasus first, only because to me he used to be an angel, because in my pony universe, all demon ponies at one point were angels, and then at some point something made them turn, and then they turn to the other side. So that's what this curved horn means, and I got the inspiration obviously from King Sombra, because I thought, oh my god, that looks totally perfect, because to anyone not in the know, the horn wouldn't be seen, because that's part of their that's part of their demon type of form. And then obviously he has the regular horns. I got the inspiration for the design from Aeon of Dreams. And basically what I made them was that when they're angels, following the whole thing of, alicorns are royalty, or alicorns are celestial beings, that's basically what they were. So all angels are alicorns until they change, then their horn becomes warped, which is, again, that form of King Sombra. The wings, obviously, self-explanatory, but when it comes to the tail here, I tried to make him where he was more demon-like than angel, or more demon than pony-like, really. Which I wish I had my Lucifer picture, because then I could show you the difference, versus Lucifer versus him. Let me see if I have it here. There it is. There it is. Okay. All right. So give me 1 second, and I will show you the difference between my rendition of a Oh, that's not what I wanted. Is that what I wanted? Yeah, that's what I wanted. Okay. It was just turned really weird. So if you look at the difference here between these two, you can see that obviously he has the horns and the different tail. Whereas if you look at my design for Lucifer, you see he has the abnormal horn, but he doesn't have the demon horns. He actually has two horns. He has his warped demon horn, and then he has an actual alicorn horn. The reason why I did that was because he's known as the demon for deceit. So what he tends to do in a lot of the lore and in the Bible is that he uses the power of deceit to fool others into thinking he's an angel and he's one of the good guys, which ends up making it easier to convince humans to turn to sin and make the wrong choices because they think they're getting advice from an angel when in actuality they're getting advice from the devil. So that there is to kind of help with that level of deceit. So if he were among any other pony, he would look like just a regular old alicorn. He would look like a regular alicorn like Luna or Celestia. So they wouldn't be able to see this warped horn. All they'd see is a regular horn, huge wings, and also a regular tail. He has that regular ponytail where, again, he could fit right in if he so wanted to. Whereas as here, he's already denounced that old part of him. He's already forgotten it. He's already, that's not me anymore. I refuse to be lumped in with them. So this is me right now. And take me as I am. Otherwise, you can screw off. So he's already gained his demon horns. He's lost his regular ponytail and gained a new one. And this is him now. Whereas Lucifer decided to keep those forms of him. That way it's easier for him to deceive other ponies, and it's a lot easier for him to fit in and skulk around and do what he's going to do. And then you come to Tess here, looking all gorgeous, and she has nothing to hide. So, and to answer a question about, especially when it comes to my requests that I did for my thousandth tweet and 100 follower thing on Twitter, I am working on your requests. I do apologize for the wait. Like I said, my health has been really, really bad. My anxiety is no help, but I am working as hard as I can. My day job hasn't been that forgiving. So my only real time that I can work on any of these is during my days off, which is usually Wednesdays and Thursdays. So I have to try and get those done as soon as possible, but I also have to filter in actually being an adult and getting things done around the house. So that is the basic tutorial on how to draw a pony. You have, let's go down the line here. You've got your skeleton. Oh. You've got your skeleton. You've got your base, your hair, and then your coloring. Next stream, I will probably be doing the shading. If you guys want me to do the shading, if you guys would like to learn how I do my shading, let me know in the comment section below. Otherwise, I will be probably trying to push out another video here in the next few weeks. I'm trying to get I'm trying to get a good video editing software because my best choice right now is Windows Movie Maker, and even that one I have trouble with. So I will be trying to put out new videos to you guys. Links to everything I've mentioned will be in the description below. I will put links to Daria's video. I will put links to everyone that I've mentioned that I've taken inspiration from. I will be putting links to my old video, my old drawing video, and I will be putting links to all of my pages, my Facebook, my Twitter. I am constantly updating my Twitter with new drawings and new sketches, so be on the lookout for those. I thank you guys for those of you who have stuck around and watched my stream. Thank you guys so very much. Thank you guys for all your questions, and I hope to see you guys on the next live stream. Stay creative. Oh wait, that's from Mad Munchkin. My bad. Sorry, Maddie. Sorry. Follow the light, and it will lead you straight back home.